Hello and welcome to Skyline's second episode tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Driti Atri. Tonight, we are not talking about just one headline. We are talking about a pattern here. A pattern that stretches from the battlefields of West Asia to the offices of Silicon Valley, to the savings of NRIs, and even to the smartphones people carry in their pocket. Because in today's world, wars are no longer fought only with missiles and fighter jets. They are fought with technology, intelligence, information, and sometimes even a single social media post. Every decision made thousands of kilometers away, it can affect somebody who is sitting in New Delhi, Dubai, Toronto, or California. So, in the next few minutes, we will take you through the biggest international stories that matter not just because they are making headlines, but because they can eventually affect your life. Well, let's begin with the claim that if it is true, then it signals a major shift in West Asian conflict. Well, the conflict in West Asia appears to be entering another dangerous phase. For months, the world has been watching the military confrontation between the US and Iran. Every few days, there are reports of missile attacks, drone strikes, military deployment, and rising tension. But now a new claim is raising even bigger questions. Ladies and gentlemen, according to reports carried out by Iran's state-affiliated Fars news agency, European fighter aircrafts from Germany and France are reportedly moving towards Jordan to support American military operation. Well, if these claims are actually accurate, then the question is obvious. Why does European country suddenly becoming directly involved in this conflict? The answer, according to the report, is that Iranian missile attacks have become increasingly difficult to intercept. The claim suggests that additional aircraft are being deployed to strengthen the air defense shield protecting American troops stationed inside Jordan. Jordan has become one of the most strategically important countries in this conflict. It hosts American military personnel and sits in a sensitive location between several conflict zones. As missiles continue crossing the region, Jordan's armed forces have repeatedly announced that they intercepted projectiles entering their airspace. That alone tells us something important here. The battlefield is no longer confined to one country. Every missile crossing another nation's sky increases the possibility of a wider regional conflict. And if more countries begin participating directly in military operations, then this conflict, it could become far bigger than the US and Iran has ever imagined. At this stage, it's very important to remember that these reports remain claims emerging during an active conflict where information often changes rapidly and competing narratives do exist. But whether or not additional NATO aircrafts have officially joined the mission, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The military pressure across West Asia is definitely growing. And when military pressure grows, so do the risks of escalation, because history has shown us that wars rarely remain limited for very long. Sometimes one new ally entering the battlefield is enough to change the direction of an entire conflict. But modern wars are not fought only in the skies, right? They are also being fought on the mobile phones, social media feeds, and viral videos. And according to the US military, one Instagram post, it could now become an intelligence weapon. Well, for years, social media has been seen as a place to share moments from your daily lives. A vacation picture, maybe, a family gathering, a short video from your work. Most people upload these posts without thinking twice. But according to the US military, in today's world, even a seemingly harmless social media post, it can become valuable intelligence for an enemy. Military officials are now warning soldiers and their entire families to be extra careful about what they share online. The concern is simple. A photograph, a location tag, or even the background of a video can reveal far more information than people do realize. Modern intelligence agencies are no longer depending only on satellites or spies. Open source intelligence has become a powerful tool, and publicly available information is increasingly being used to track military activity. You think about it. A single picture uploaded from a military base could reveal the location of the troop. A celebration video might accidentally expose military equipment. Even fitness tracking apps, location services, or tagged photos can provide valuable information when combined with satellite images and AI. Individually, if we see, then these details may look insignificant, but together they can help build a surprising, accurate picture of military moves. And this is exactly why the US military has started reminding its personnel that operational security is no longer limited to the battlefield. It now extends to smartphones, social media accounts, and every digital platform people use every single day. While the warning reflects a much bigger reality, modern warfare is changing rapidly. Today, information itself has become a weapon. Winning a war is no longer just about having stronger missiles or larger armies. It is also about controlling information and preventing sensitive details from falling into the wrong hands. Well, as conflict become increasingly tech-driven, governments around the globe are paying greater attention to cybersecurity, digital surveillance, and online intelligence than ever before. But yes, while governments are trying to protect military secrets, another battle is unfolding. But this one is behind closed doors. This one isn't being fought with missiles or tech. It is being fought with diplomacy, negotiations, and high-stakes political decisions that could shape the future of the entire West Asia. Let's hop on to our next segment tonight. Iran says it has captured 15 CIA and Mossad operatives. The question is the shadow war entering a dangerous phase or not? That's right, just when the world thought that the conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel couldn't become more complicated, another dramatic claim has emerged from Tehran. Iran now says it has arrested 15 people whom it describes as operators who are linked to the CIA and Israel's Mossad during multiple intelligence-based operations carried out across the nation. According to Iran's Ministry of Intelligence, these suspects they were allegedly part of 4 separate cells that had entered Iran with plan to carry out sabotage attack. Officials claim that security forces recovered munition and other harmful elements during the raid. Well, the alleged targets included public infrastructure, judicial institutions, economic facilities, and other sensitive locations. If these claims they are actually accurate, then they point to something much bigger than a conventional military confrontation. Because modern conflicts are no longer fought only with fighter jets, missiles, or maybe drones. They are increasingly being fought through intelligence network. In fact, cyber operations, covert missions, and information warfare. The battle often begins long before a missile is launched. In the meantime, Iran also says these operations were intelligence-led, carried out after security agencies tracked the whole movement of the alleged people inside the country. Officials they claim that the suspects intended to destabilize the nation by targeting critical infrastructure and spreading a lot of panic among the civilians. But yes, whether these allegations are independently verified or not, they kind of reflect the growing importance of intelligence agencies in today's geopolitical conflict. Governments are investing just as heavily in surveillance, counterintelligence, cybersecurity, and covert operations as they are in conventional military power. Message is becoming clear, ladies and gentlemen. Today's wars are not fought only on the battlefields. They are fought in cyberspace, inside intelligence headquarters, and across financial systems, and sometimes without the public even realizing they have begun. And yes, as tension between Iran and the US with Israel continue to rise, every new intelligence claim has the potential to increase mistrust and push the entire region one step closer to a wider confrontation. But military tension does not just affect security. They also affect the global economy because one of the world's most important oil routes, it is now under pressure. And what happens there could directly impact your investment, your home loan, and even your monthly saving. Well, that's our next story. If you hold a 401k in the United States, own a US tech stock, or you are waiting for mortgage rate to fall before refinancing your home, what is happening in Strait of Hormuz? It is no longer just a geopolitical story. It has become a personal financial story. According to the European Central Bank and the World Bank, the closure and maritime blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, it has removed nearly 14 million barrels of oil per day from global market. That makes it one of the biggest energy supply disruptions in modern history, by the way. And when that much oil disappears from the market, the impact does not stay confined to West Asia. It reaches Wall Street, your investment, and even your monthly mortgage payment. For years, investors believed that the US Federal Reserve would soon begin cutting interest rate. To lower the borrowing cost was expected to fuel another rally in technical stock. Many make business expansion cheaper and finally bring mortgage rate down after years of expensive loans. Many homeowners delayed refinancing, expecting cheaper credit in months ahead. Many investors increased their exposure to growth stock, believing the era of high interest rate was coming to an end. But this oil shock has changed the whole equation, ladies and gentlemen. When oil prices rise sharply, well, transportation becomes expensive, shipping costs increase, and airlines pay more for fuel. Factories spend more to manufacture goods, even cost of delivering groceries, running warehouses, transporting raw material begins to climb. Eventually, higher costs are passed on to the consumers, pushing inflation much higher across the economy. And yes, that puts the Federal Bank into a difficult position. Its primary job is to control inflation. If inflation remains high because energy prices keep rising, the Fed has very little room to cut interest rate. Instead of cheaper borrowing, Americans could face higher interest rate for much longer than anybody expected. And that is why this is not just another West Asian headline. A conflict thousands of miles away is now influencing financial decisions inside American households. Whether you are planning to buy a home, refinance your mortgage, invest in the stock market, or simply protect your retirement saving, the Strait of Hormuz has suddenly become one of the most important economic choke points in the world, and its impact could be felt for months to come. And yes, speaking of this whole conflict, then for years, the tech industry sold one dream to millions of professionals around the globe. Study engineering, learn coding, get into a big tech company, and your future all secured. Today, that promise is beginning to look very different because while artificial intelligence is creating some of the biggest business opportunities in the history, it is also quietly rewriting the job market. And thousands of professionals are discovering that the skill which made them valuable yesterday may no longer guarantee job security tomorrow. Look at what's happening across the global tech industry. In 2026 alone, more than 120,000 technology professionals have already lost their jobs worldwide. India hasn't been spared either. Nearly 30,000 technical roles disappeared in May alone. And industry experts believe the total number could climb even higher before the year ends. At first, it feels confusing. If AI is creating so much wealth, why are companies cutting costs? Well, the answer it lies where companies are spending their money. Tech giants are no longer investing the way they did 5 years ago. Earlier, growth meant hiring more engineers, expanding teams, and opening new offices. Today, growth means building AI infrastructure, buying powerful chips, expanding cloud computing, and investing billions into data centers that can train the next generation of AI models. Simple words, the money that has not disappeared. It has simply changed the direction here. And whether money changes And whenever money changes the direction, jobs change with it. Companies like Oracle, Meta, or Microsoft and others, they are reconstructing their workforce while simultaneously increasing spending on AI. Routine software development, testing, repetitive code tasks are increasingly being automated. Teams are being leaner, and businesses are now asking fewer people to deliver more output with the help of AI. But there's another shift that deserves attention here. Many multinational companies are strengthening their global capability centers, or also we can call it GCCs, in India. Instead of maintaining large teams across multiple countries, businesses are building specialized AI, cloud computing, and data engineering hubs in India. That means while some traditional jobs are disappearing in North America, but new opportunities are opening for professionals with specialized AI skills in India. For Indians working in the US on H-1B, this creates another challenge though. Losing a job is no longer only a financial setback for them, it also begins a legal countdown. Finding another employer willing to sponsor a visa has become far more competitive because the entire tech hiring landscape is changing now. Experts say that this isn't a temporary slowdown, it's a structural transformation. The companies leading the AI revolution aren't necessarily looking for more employees here, they are looking for different employees. Professionals who do understand cloud infrastructure, AI, and cybersecurity with data engineering and AI governance will be better positioned for near future. Well, the lesson is clear here. The future does not belong to the people who simply know technology now. It belongs to the people who know how to work with AI because, let's be honest, AI is no longer replacing just repetitive tasks. It is reshaping career, and the professionals who adapt early, they will be ones leading the next chapter of tech industry. But yes, tech isn't the only thing that is changing now because while companies are reconstructing their workforce, another financial shift is quietly unfolding in America. One that could affect every NRI who invests, saves, and sends money back home. And ladies and gentlemen, that is our next story. Well, if you hold a dollar-dominated investment portfolio or regularly send money from US back to India, this next story deserves your attention. US government is borrowing money at an extraordinary pace. According to the latest figure released by US Treasury, the federal deficit has already crossed $1.4 trillion in the first 9 months of the 2026 fiscal year. And if this trend continues, total borrowing could move beyond $2 trillion before the year ends. And at the very same time, America is dealing with rising defense spending and continuing geopolitical tension. That means the government needs to issue more debt, and investors are demanding higher rate to lend that money. As a result, US Treasury yield has climbed sharply with 10 years Treasury yield moving above 4.69% and the 30-year yield crossing 5%. Now you may be wondering, why should this matter to an NRI or an Indian professional in the US? It does because when US government bond yields rise, the ripple effects are felt across almost every single financial market. Let's start with investment here. For last 2 years, many investors believed that the US Federal Reserve would begin cutting interest rates, making borrowing cheaper and pushing stock market even higher. But with inflation remaining stubborn and government borrowing continuing to increase, that expectation it has become far less certain. Higher treasury yields make government bonds more attractive, encouraging the investors to shift money away from riskier assets like tech stocks maybe or emerging market. And yes, there is another impact that many NRIs closely watch: the dollar. Now, if we see historically, when US bond yields move higher, the US dollar tends to strengthen as global investors move money into dollar-dominated assets. A stronger dollar, it may increase the value of remittance sent to India in the short term, but it can also create volatility for investment held across different countries and currency. Here, financial experts say that this is a reminder that macroeconomics developments don't stay confined to government balance sheet. They influence borrowing cost, investment return, mortgage rates, exchange rates, and even long-term financial planning for families living across the border. Well, the message is quite simple here. Well, when the world's largest economy changes direction, global money, it moves with it. Well, for the NRIs managing investment in both the US and India, staying informed about these shifts, it isn't just useful, it is becoming essential. But yes, while financial markets are adjusting to higher borrowing costs, another opportunity is quietly emerging in the real estate market. And according to many investors, today's crisis, it could become tomorrow's biggest wealth building opportunity. And yes, if you work in tech, global procurement, manufacturing, or even invest in tech companies, this next story, it deserves your attention. For years, the Gulf region quietly played another role beyond exporting oil. It became one of the world's most important logistics hub every single day. Thousands of ships carrying semiconductors, telecom equipment, industrial components, and electronic hardware moved the Gulf-free zone before reaching Europe and North America. But today, the entire system is facing serious disruption. Ladies and gentlemen, The reason? That is the ongoing military confrontation across the Persian Gulf. Airspace restriction, flight cancellation, and growing security concern have forced the airlines and shipping companies to change their traditional routes. A logistic network that businesses relied upon for years, it is now operating under a lot of pressure. In fact, one of the biggest challenges is air freight. Historically, Gulf aviation hubs handled more than 25% of the air cargo moving between China, Europe, and West Asia. But after the latest escalation, air cargo capacity on these routes have dropped by an estimated 26%, forcing cargo operators to take longer and more expensive route. At the very same time, emergency war risk surcharges ranging between $2,000 and $4,000 per container are adding even more pressure to transportation cost. Disruption goes far beyond transportation, by the way. For years, multinational companies used Gulf-free zones as intermediaries trade hub. Products manufactured in East Asia, they were routed through cities like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, before being shipped to customers across Europe and North America. The system helped companies reduce cost, manage the inventories, and simplify global trade operations. But today, millions of dollars worth of tech hardware, including semiconductors, assembles, telecom equipment, and industrial components, is stranded as companies struggle to disrupt logistics and changing the trade route further. Impact now reaching the boardrooms across the world. Tech companies managing global hardware supply chains are facing delivery delays, rising manufacturing costs, and shrinking profit margin. In fact, businesses are being forced to redesign the supply chain that were built for efficiency, replacing them with networks that prioritize resilience over speed. Experts say that this makes a major shift in global trade, by the way. For decades, companies focused on keeping costs as low as possible, but by depending on small numbers of efficient logistic hubs. But geopolitical uncertainty is changing that strategy. Businesses are increasingly adopting multiple supply routes, expanding manufacturing across different regions, and reducing their dependence on any single trans-corridor. Lesson? Very clear. In today's world, a conflict thousands of kilometers away does not stay confined to just one region. It can delay product launch, increase manufacturing costs, disrupt global trade, and eventually affect the prices consumers pay around the globe. With that, here we come to an end of today's Skyline. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Gulf to West Asia. And with that, we wrap up today's Skyline. From growing geopolitical tension to changing immigration rules, from AI reshifting the career to global financial risk, and from supply chain disruption to opportunities for NRIs. Today's stories carry out one important and common message. World is changing faster than ever before. I'm Driti Atri, this was Skyline, and I'll see you in the next episode.